when you hear about these 90s pros and they even though they don't even follow the sport nowadays, and they're saying the guys of today don't even train heavy, we train harder in our day. It's like we've actually heard of a few modern day pros like yourself, and they've said it really annoys them because there are people like yourself and Akim and Flex Lewis and Nathan DeAsha. These guys are training hard and heavy. You know, it must be really annoying to hear that.
Well, you know, I don't take anything personally, right? Because when I look back at it, I'm sure when my days of bodybuilding are over, I'm going to look back at the guys and maybe in a little bit of resentment or jealousy, be like, we trained harder than those guys, you know? But hey, look, I'm a huge fan of bodybuilding. As you guys know, I grew up in the sport. My father was competing and still competes at 57.
Wow. Oh, really?
It's the only thing.
I didn't know this.
He's still competing.
Wow.
Still competing. He's getting ready this year for, he's a little animal.
That's great.
But, I grew up in the sport, and, I grew up watching the Flex Wheelers, the Sean Rays, the Dorian Yates. And I even remember watching Lee Haney. So I have nothing but admiration for those guys and respect. And, I understand that they might feel like, hey, we trained harder and maybe they did. Who knows? I mean, what's the metric there? How do we measure that?
Yes,
right?
It's hard to measure, especially if you don't follow the sport now and you're not training with these guys. Fair enough if you see these guys training, we train in the same gym, but how can you compare? You can't compare. It's like
right.
It's a memory versus something you don't know now.
Exactly, and the thing is like, maybe the Mike Mensners of the day trained like animals, and the Tom Platts. But I'm sure there were pros too that also didn't train that hard. Like I know a lot of pros today that don't train that hard. I'm not going to mention any names.
Yeah.
So like I said, what's the metric there? We can't really measure who trained harder, who was better. It is what it is. It's just a different time of bodybuilding.